What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about Lucid, I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved it, and then aside from that, go over the latest in sales numbers coming from the States. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid did close flat. Rather disappointing day, especially considering the broader market was in full-on FOMO mode, and you can tell something was off with Lucid pretty much straight out the gate. As soon as the market opened, it just tanked. So that wasn't happening with any other stock, unfortunately. So I think there was just a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with Lucid, but market was moving higher because of data. So non-farm payroll came in at 177 versus 140 to forecast. Unemployment did come in with the expectations. So market loved that. Maybe one reason why Lucid did lag a little bit was because of this good data ultimately means that the likelihood of a cut for the May 7th meeting went through kind of to the toilet. For the June 18th meeting, it did go from roughly 55% to now 35% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. And EVs and the automotive sector is very sensitive to interest rates, so maybe that could be one culprit on exactly what did happen. At the same time, these numbers did come out yesterday, late yesterday, so it does show as of April 2025. Again, these are just estimates, but it shows the sales that did occur during that time frame from the States only, and it shows Lucid 815 cars and then 5 trucks, aka I think they just code them as SUVs, so that's the Gravity. So at the end of the day, that's still not really counting Lucid ramping up for the Gravity, but taking this for face value, it does really go to show that in Q3 and as well Q4, Lucid really needs to kick ass, because in order for them to hit their 20,000 at the end by the end of the year, they need to at least double it. So right now 820 for April. Then again, if you kind of factor in even based on the last earnings, they did signal that a lot of bodies are being sent over to AMP2, so that could add some additional kind of vehicles being produced and manufactured. I don't know if I can't remember if they stated that those bodies are the Gravity bodies or anything, but nonetheless though, let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. There was a lot of optimism today associated to China and the States, and this is now the first time that we actually have confirmed kind of proof that both China and the States admit that they're talking to each other. Prior to that, it was always the States saying that things are going good, and then you had China be like, hey, we're not even talking. Well, I have no idea what this guy is talking about. So at the end of the day, pretty good stuff, and based on this, you can kind of see that Trump is very clear that there is going to be a deal coming with China. And I feel like the reason why we might see a deal sooner rather than later is because India outright came out and said that they want to become the next China. So they want to take a lot of marketing, and based on Apple's recent earnings, 97% of all the iPhones that were created last quarter were manufactured in India. So maybe China is somewhat threatened by India, so they want to do a deal fast with the States. So I don't know, that might be very, very optimistic for the broader market. But aside from that, no actual news from Lucid, no SEC filings. They do have their earnings right around the corner, and so that should bring a whole new rush of new analyst ratings. But as of today and recently, there hasn't been all that much. It's just been piggybacking off the broader market. You did have shorts return 2.81 million shares today. 28.77% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 354.42 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 2.29. So shorts returning on Friday maybe might be optimistic leading into the earnings, or they just might be mitigating some risk. Overall, today was somewhat on the low end for volume, so 64.3 million shares being traded. 100 is the average. So even though there was 64 million, a lot of that was algorithmic trading, because you don't see that much transactions on the secondary market, so you see a lot of buying based on this, but in comparison to our overall volume, it obviously shows that algorithmic trading was in full force. Even looking at the dark pool, this is basically it, all right here. So probably 20 transactions, 30 transactions at best, and none of which are over 1 million overall. So like I said, it's good that the market was really moving higher today, but it shows that big money wasn't really getting behind Lucid. So let me know, why do you think Lucid did ultimately lag today? But on a positive note, it did close at 253, so meaning above that 250 strike price. So today we did have 980,000 in calls, 185,000 in puts, so very low volume for the options, but 52% of all the options being done today were bearish in nature. So there's a certain level of hesitation when it comes down to Lucid, and like I said, I'm not really sure, maybe there's more to it when it comes to the whole supply chain issue that us as investors are aware of. So what's your viewpoint on that? But like I said, on a positive note, with it closing at 253, that does mean 15,000 at that 250 is in the money, and so that means roughly 1.5 million shares will need to be covered by market makers. And I don't see that much transactions on at least the secondary market after hours covering a lot of that, so that might be done first thing on Monday. So something to kind of keep in mind, maybe. But regardless, stay tuned for my video over this weekend where I go over some expectations for this upcoming week, and with their earnings coming out, definitely should make for a fun time. But with it at 253, trading right above this R1, so at least on a technical standpoint, we know that this is a good support level. And then aside from that though, on the actual chart itself, so it did still, luckily enough, close above that 50-day moving average, and that is sitting at $2.36. So it's simply just wedge bound between the 150-day moving average for the most part. Their earnings will definitely be that catalyst to either break it above or below, so just anticipate a lot of volatility. And even looking at some expectations, so this is SoFi, you guys don't need that, so roughly about 9.91%, so a 10% move is anticipated in either direction, so that works out to be roughly a 25-cent move in either direction. And as much as I like Lucid, historically speaking, again, I'll go over a lot of this in more depth over the weekend. Historically, the market only has saw 2 of their previous 11, 12 earnings as positive, and even best case scenario goes up like 12% or 3%. So historically speaking, it looks as though we might have a little bit more of a pullback, but again, you do whatever floats your boat. And like I said, stay tuned for this upcoming weekend where I'll go over a lot more in-depth expectations and whatever else. So hopefully everyone had a good day. Let me know your viewpoint. Did you buy the dip? Did you sell? What's your general thoughts with Lucid behind the scenes? And when it comes down to these numbers, do you think that this is good, the 820 for April, or do you think that's on kind of the low end? Again, if you just do the basic math, 20,000 for, was it the 12 months? So it needs to at least double it in order for them to kind of hit their targets. So I don't know, what's your general thoughts? Hopefully everyone has a good weekend ahead of them. Stay tuned for future videos, and with that, appreciate all of you watching.